So earlier this summer, my wife and I took a vacation to the beach near Lake Michigan, and we picked up a bunch of rocks. We carried little baggies with us, and we carried all these beach stones home with us. And I thought, well, what am I going to do with those? And so I thought I would show you what I ended up doing. I created this centerpiece for the table using those rocks painted with some clear epoxy, high temp epoxy, so it's really hard, and glued them down to what essentially is automotive carpet that I bought at one of the big box stores. I'm going to show you the process that I used to create it. We sorted through it and found most of the flattest rocks that we could use for this, so we can still use it to set things on, and they're not going to get too tippy. I also had a couple extra rocks left over, so I made myself a little coaster. So watch the video and enjoy the process of making one yourself. Okay, so I've already washed these rocks, and one of the things that I did was to sort them into two different categories. These are really flat rocks that I'm going to use for maybe a coaster or something, and I only have a few of those. And then I have these rocks, which are mostly flat, but they're a little bit varied in thickness, so they're a little bit different. So I'm going to keep those separate. And one of the things that I did while I was washing them is that some of these rocks have a really cool looking face on them, like that one that has kind of some neat features on it. So I put a little X on it so that I'd know that I want to put the finish on that side. So I'm going to lay them all out on this board that I have covered in paper, and I'm going to spray them with some clear engine enamel. I chose engine enamel instead of clear polyurethane because this is heat resistant and is a little bit tougher. It's going to harden up really hard since I'm going to use this for a table centerpiece or something. So one of the things I'm going to do right now is just flip all of these rocks over to the good side, because we don't want to have glue on the side that has polyurethane on it. So we only want to put the engine enamel on the back side. See, there's another one that has an X on it. So I chose that one to have that side up because there's kind of a cool looking fossil on it. So flip them all over to the side that you want up. Don't worry about what order you want them in, and make sure that none of them are touching too. You want to spread them all out so that they're not touching each other, because you want to be able to even spray around the edges just a little bit. And you can touch it up once we glue it to the carpet, but it's a whole lot easier to just have it all sprayed and not have to worry about the edges all at once. And you'll see that as soon as I start spraying it, they get that wet look, like when we picked them up along the beach. If you're not a very good spray painter, then you might take a little lesson here in that when you go to the end of a row, you take your finger off of the nozzle, because if you leave your finger on the nozzle as you're going back and forth, you'll end up with a whole lot in one spot. So you're supposed to go in nice straight rows like that. Let's try to get some low here. Come around the back side. Another angle here. I'm going to turn the fan off too. The fan is kind of blowing things a little bit, as long as I'm blowing this way. And we'll let these sit at least 24 hours to dry. Okay, it's been several days now, and all of the rocks have dried. You can see that they have a nice sheen to them. They're nice and shiny on one side, but the other side is unfinished. And one of the things that we did was to actually lay them out here on the coffee table. I'm in the living room right now. We laid them out on the coffee table to take our time and find a pattern that we liked. And if you can see that we've got a row of black rocks that kind of makes a wave through the middle of this thing. And we've decided to make it a big rectangle to make it a runner for the middle of the table. I also have a few rocks over here on the side that I'm going to make just a little trivet or a coaster with whatever's left. The carpet material that I'm using to glue this to is actually like automotive carpet. I got this at Menards, a big box home improvement store. It has one side that's a little bit flat and the other side that's a little more fuzzy. It wasn't very expensive at all. I think they sell it by the square foot, and this was, I bought a few square feet of it for just a couple dollars. The glue that we're using is Elmer's Glue All, and this is actually a poly glue that the directions say to use it on a slightly wet surface, but I can tell you from using poly glue before that if you were to wet this surface and put a couple drops of glue on it, the glue tends to foam up and it makes a really big mess. And speaking of messes, I have underneath what I'm working on here is that red paper that I used when I sprayed the rocks. I have that down here to protect my coffee table. And all I'm going to do now is pick up each rock and put a few drops of glue on it and put it in place on this piece of carpet. So let me get started here, and it should only take me a few minutes to get them all set up here. Okay, I have the glue on all of the rocks. Oop, and I can see that I have a little one sticking up right there. You can still move them around just a little bit until they dry. And anywhere where there's a little bit of glue that maybe got dripped onto the cloth, I can just take a little magic marker and touch it up so you won't even see it. That's one of the nice things about using black. Now, one of the things I'm doing right now, I'm just looking across it to make sure that I got the right side of all the rocks so that they're all shiny. If one of them did get turned over, then I can just put a little bit of clear polyurethane on them. You could see from the video that I started losing my pattern as I got down here at the end a little bit. And that's one of the reasons that actually I made this cloth a little bit wider so that I can cut this off and trim it afterwards. I think the next time I do it, I'm going to have some extra little rocks sitting off on the side. You can see these are some of the rocks that I ended up with left over at the end. And I think it would be handy to have a little assortment of rocks over on the side so that if you have a little hole somewhere, an odd spot that you need to fill, you can look over there and see your pile of rocks. So right now what I'm going to do is put a couple of magazines underneath this just because I want to make sure that it doesn't come through on my coffee table while it's drying. And I'm going to set another couple of magazines on top of it to let it dry overnight. And what we'll do then is to come back tomorrow and trim all of this stuff off, and you'll see the final product. So there, that's a pretty easy process, and you can see that the final result is not only attractive but very durable. You can, some of the glue actually ran through on mine, so you have to be careful not to slide it around on the table too much. You can pick that glue off, or maybe even glue on a little bit more felt to the bottom of it. You can make it as big as you want, any funny shapes that you want. If you create one and you're pretty proud of it, shoot a little video and add it to the video replies. I'll activate video replies down in the comments section so that you can show other people what yours looks like. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and you'll be notified of any new videos as soon as I post them. There's a whole bunch more good stuff coming up. Thanks. So that's the process. That was easy, wasn't it? It's 3 o'clock. I'm going to chime 3 times. Westminster chimes. Grandfather's clock. Okay, let's try that again.